The joke is done. Let them know you done deal. Write it down down. Let them know you dropping me. I drop you. No, I said, Pooh Shiesty drop from 10-17. Shout out. Real nigga ain't never did no police or none of that, bro. Tell them what's going on. Bro, we just did that. That's done what you do. You drop. You said you want to be dropped, you dropped.
There have been a lot of dumb criminal cases over the years, but what Pooh Shiesty allegedly did in Dallas on January 10th puts him in a category by himself. Not just because of what he's accused of, because of how he allegedly did it, because of what was allegedly captured, and because of what he said publicly just days before it happened. This is the full breakdown of why federal prosecutors believe they have one of the most airtight cases they've seen, and why even the people who were defending him loudest have gone quiet. Here's what happened. Pooh Shiesty, real name Lantrell Williams Jr., was at the time on house arrest for an unrelated prior offense, which means his ankle monitor was logging every location he went to in real time. Despite that, he allegedly traveled with his father and 7 other co-conspirators from Memphis to Dallas in January to attend what was presented to the other party as a business meeting at a recording studio. Once inside, according to federal investigators, the meeting turned into something else entirely. Williams Jr. allegedly produced an AK-style pistol and pointed it at the head of the person identified in the complaint by the initials RD, initials that match Gucci Mane's legal name, Radrick Davis. The demand was simple: sign a release from his recording contract with 1017 Records. The victim, according to prosecutors, signed the document under duress with a weapon pointed at him. 3 victims total were inside. Multiple co-conspirators were involved in controlling the space and the people inside it. And the whole thing went down while Pooh was wearing an ankle monitor that was tracking exactly where he was. 9 people were arrested. Federal charges include kidnapping and use of a firearm in furtherance of a violent crime. Now, here's where the case becomes what it is. The original reports made clear that there were no surveillance cameras inside the specific studio room where the alleged kidnapping took place. That was actually a detail that gave some people hope early on. The thinking being that, without footage from inside the room, it would come down to witness testimony, which is always something a good defense team can work with. If Gucci Mane would have to take the stand and testify about what happened, that's a different kind of case than one with direct video evidence. But then the video surfaced. Footage showing Pooh Shiesty, his father, and other individuals in the studio with Gucci Mane, including what appears to be a gun being produced and Gucci being prevented from leaving, began circulating. According to commentary from people who analyzed the footage closely, there's a moment where Gucci attempts to walk out and a firearm is visibly present, blocking his exit. Federal prosecutors in the complaint made clear that this type of conduct, using a weapon to prevent someone from leaving, is precisely what satisfies the elements of the kidnapping charge. And the footage wasn't the only problem. The ankle monitor data placed him at that location at that exact time. Phone records and communications connected the co-conspirators. The security guard who was present was robbed of his Rolex watch during the incident, adding another layer of documented theft on top of the kidnapping and firearm charges. The contract that was signed under alleged duress is itself potentially wire fraud, because a document signed under coercion has no legal standing, meaning the entire premise of the operation, forcing a label release, achieved nothing legally while generating multiple serious federal charges. This brings us to why the video exists at all, because this is the question that's genuinely hard to explain from any rational standpoint. Here's what appears to have been the thinking. The concern on Pooh's side was reportedly that Gucci might later go to court and claim the contract was signed under duress, which it was, and have it invalidated. So, the video was allegedly taken with the intention of proving that Gucci willingly signed. The plan, as far as prosecutors understand it, was to use the footage as evidence in any future civil dispute over the contract. Think about what that means. They filmed themselves allegedly committing federal crimes as a legal strategy for a contract dispute. They plan to walk this footage into a courtroom to help their case. Setting that aside, there's a second reason this kind of footage gets taken in environments like this. And the person breaking down the case said it plainly. The crime doesn't carry the same weight on the street if nobody can confirm it happened. Making someone like Gucci Mane, someone with a long-established reputation and credibility, submit to you at gunpoint, forcing him to sign something, is a statement. It means nothing unless it can be shown. The footage wasn't just documentation, it was the product itself. The problem is that footage is now federal evidence. The reaction from people who had been publicly defending Pooh Shiesty throughout this case has been notable. One of the loudest voices advocating for him over the past several months released a video in which his tone was completely different. The energy was gone. He was essentially telling Pooh that if the government comes with a 30-year offer, take it. Be grateful for 30. That shift, from a defender saying the case was beatable, to that same person telling him to take whatever the feds put on the table, tells you everything about how the evidence landed. And for context on what that sentencing picture actually looks like, federal criminal cases operate on a points-based guideline system. The base offense level for the type of crimes alleged here starts high before any enhancements are added. Prior criminal history, which Pooh has, adds more points. The use of a firearm adds more. Multiple victims add more. By the time everything stacks, the sentencing range being discussed in commentary about this case puts the minimum somewhere around 40 years, with life being a realistic outcome depending on how the charges are pursued. He also made the decision to fight the charges aggressively, filing motions claiming the evidence was insufficient and that the prosecution was misrepresenting what happened. In federal court, that strategy, when the evidence is what it appears to be in this case, can work against you. It signals to the court that you're not taking responsibility, which affects how judges and prosecutors approach plea negotiations. The window for a more favorable deal tends to close as the case proceeds. And then there's the timing. Just days before the January 10th incident in Dallas, Pooh Shiesty sat down for a double XL interview. In that interview, he talked about being a changed person. He talked about learning to move differently, staying away from the same situations, keeping what matters most in front of him. He talked about knowing how hard it is to get out of bad situations once you're in them, and how he kept that reality in mind as motivation to stay on a different path. He said clearly that he already knew how that movie ended, and he wasn't going back. Then, according to federal prosecutors, a week later he traveled to Dallas with his father and 7 other people, brought a weapon into a recording studio, and allegedly held a record executive at gunpoint over a contract dispute while his ankle monitor logged every step. The gap between those two things, the interview and the incident, is genuinely difficult to process. He articulated exactly why it doesn't make sense to go back to that life. He described the physical discomfort, the loss of freedom, the cost to the people around him. He knew, and federal prosecutors say he did it anyway. That's the part that's hardest to sit with when you look at this case as a whole. Not just the legal exposure, which is massive. Not just the evidence, which appears to be overwhelming. But the fact that this allegedly happened at a moment when his career had real momentum and real opportunity in front of it. With Lil Durk's legal situation taking him off the board, Pooh was one of the artists most positioned to step into that space. The lane was there, and if the government's account of January 10th is accurate, he walked away from it. Federal trials take time, and everyone accused is legally innocent until proven otherwise. The process will play out. But the combination of ankle monitor location data, alleged video evidence, 9 arrests, documented communications, and a recording of the alleged victim signing under conditions prosecutors describe as duress has put this case in a place where the people closest to it are not talking about winning. They're talking about what comes next. What do you think? Does Pooh have any realistic path out of this, given what's been reported? Or is this one of those cases that's already decided before it gets to trial? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe for more breakdowns like this.